Yes, I think we can start. So let me share my screen. So my voice is audible clearly, right?
Yes, sir.
Fine. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. So before starting to Java, okay, so I'll be giving some basic explanation about testing. Okay, so this testing got evaluated from this manual testing to automation. Like, what are the tools we have? Okay, so what's the difference between manual testing and automation testing? Because some of the candidates may be from a non-IT background, so this will be helpful for them and also for everyone. Okay, so testing evaluation is, so if we talk about testing, okay, around like few years before, that is around 2010 and early 2010, there was no man automation testing. There was completely manual testing, right? So manual tester needs to write the test case, and in this Excel or Word document, and then they use to execute the test case, right? So basically, manual testing is, there may be some application which any organization may be built for their business. Okay, so our testing role is to test that application to make sure there's no defects in that particular application. Okay, so defect in the sense, for example, if the requirement is in A, so in the application also it's BA. It should not be like some other B or C. Okay, if there is any deviation or mismatch, then that is called as a defect, right? So at the time, early stage, like around 2010, there was no automation testing, manual testing. So the pain point with the manual testing is it's a more time consumption, right? For example, if there is like a 100 test case, a manual tester needs to execute that 100 test cases. Merely it will take like a week or even more than a week. Okay, so that much time is required for manual testing. And also, there might be a human-made errors also possible in the manual testing. So, how to solve this issue, right? So, time consumption and manual human-made errors. Okay, so these are the pain points. So, how to solve this pain points? So, to solve these pain points, next level of testing evaluated is script-based testing. Right? So, around like 2014, 15, so that time, multiple tools, okay, so script-based tools like QTP means quick testing professional. So that is one of the tools. Wind runner, that is another script-based tool. And earlier versions of Selenium has been introduced. So what is mean by script-based? Okay, so it is completely based on the script. So that means it is like recorded playback. A manual tester can start that particular tool, TQTP or Selenium, early version of Selenium called Selenium IDE, Selenium Integrated Development Environment. So they have to start that Selenium ID in their machine, and then they will start to test the application manually. Like the login page, they'll be entering username, password, clicking the login button. So after that, they'll be going to main page. In main page, they'll be doing some action as part of their testing. So since that tool has been enabled, that is on, so that will start recording the process. Okay, recording the actions. Like they'll be entering the username, password, right? So those actions it will record, and then it will convert that as a script. Okay. Tomorrow, if a manual tester needs to do the same action, then they don't need to do it manually. Instead of that, they can just execute that script which has been already recorded. Okay, that means we can reuse the script. Okay, that recorded script, what it will do, the same way it will go to the browser, it will navigate to the particular application, it will enter the same username and same password which we have entered at the time of recording. So that will get entered, and then login button, go to navigation page, and then do the action, same action which man tested as done earlier. Okay, so this is a script based automation. Okay, So problem for this is we can record and we can reuse that scripts, but it is like very hard to maintain. We can't scale it up. Okay, so like for a multiple browsers or like the multiple combinations, so we can't do that much. Okay, so just same action we can just reuse, right? And also this is like very tightly coupled with the UI. UI means user interface, the web page which we are seeing in the website. So that is called as a UI, user interface. So this script base is very tightly coupled with the UI. If there is any small change in the UI, then automatically this particular script will get failed, right? So these are the pain points for the script base. After the script based, after like in 2016-17, multiple versions of or multiple tools of Selenium has been evolved. Okay. Selenium RC, Selenium WebDriver, Selenium Upgrade. So those tools has been evolved. So that time only it got like completely boomed. This testing, right? So it got completely boomed, and also at the same time, industry has been started to create multiple frameworks. Okay, so that time only from script based, it moved to the framework driven evaluation. Okay, so framework driven approach, right? So in the time, multiple companies or multiple in the industry, multiple companies has been started to create a multiple framework like page object model. It's one of the famous framework. Okay, till now it is used in a multiple company. And then there's other framework called keyword driven, data driven. So this is like first class, right? No need to worry like what is that framework and how we can do it. So everything we can do it as part of this particular course. Okay, so these many frameworks has been created, and with this framework, all the pain points which we have in the manual testing and script-based approach has been removed. Okay, so it's like easy to maintain and it is scalable. And this framework we can run it scalable, we can run it in the multiple environments, the multiple browsers. And if there's some small change in the UI also, this framework will not fail. Okay, because this framework is built in such a way. So there is called a page object. Getting the lobby. Till now, any doubts? Hello.
No, sir.
Okay. Okay. So this framework has been evolved. So I said right. So this there's a framework called page object model. By using this page object model, if there's any small change in the UI also, the framework is an ability to run without any issue. Okay. From that time to till now, so framework driven approach has been widely used in the industry. So now, as part of this evaluation, right, there is a no company without using a automation framework. Okay, so if they're using an automation, definitely they'll be using only via framework. Okay, so framework means it's like some set of patterns. Okay, so all the organization needs to do use the same, not same. Okay, so it's like dependent on the organization. Okay, so if organization A is using framework, so all the team members in the organization A should use the same framework, same approach. Okay, so some other organization may be using the framework B, that is called like data driven framework. Okay, so all the team members in that particular company needs to use the same data driven framework. Okay, so reason is it's like easy to maintain. If everyone is using the same approach, then it is easy to maintain. And if today a person is working in the company, he may go to some other company tomorrow. Okay, in the time, if any new one comes into the company, so they, those persons should easily adapt this framework. Okay, so this framework is created in such a way. Okay, so new members can also easily adapt this framework. So how to adapt the framework? Because there's a certain rule. Framework means it's a pattern, certain rules. Okay, so this rules has been written somewhere in the document. So by go through these documents or by go through the framework itself, a person can easily understand the framework. Okay, so that's called as framework driven evaluation. And shift driven by agile DevOps and CI/CD requirement. So with this framework, it is not only like writing the scripts. Okay, so it should adapt agile methodology. It should adapt the DevOps and CI/CD requirements. So everything this framework should adapt. Okay, so currently framework which is using in the industry, right? So it will adapt it agile. Okay. So first agile. Agile means it's like sprint based. Okay, so sprint means maximum like 2 weeks to 3 weeks. So in this particular sprint, a functionality needs to be developed and that functionality needs to go to the production as well. Right? So in this 2 weeks of time, the tester should have an ability to write an automation script for the functionality which developers are developing. Okay. For example, if developers are developing the OTP functionality, so for the same OTP functionality, a tester needs to run the uh, tester needs to create or write the automation script. Okay, and then that particular script needs to be pushed to the framework or pushed to the repository. Right. So reason for that is as part of this agile, we have to release the product very quickly. Like every 2 weeks, once there will be release, or else maximum by 1 month there will be a release. Okay, so at that time, if we want to test everything manually, it is like very hard. Okay, so that's why we are going to this automation. This automation already we have all the scripts automated by using Selenium or some other tools. Okay. Now what will happen? The new functionality which developer is developing, so that also currently we are going to create and we are going to push to the repository. Okay, so repository means it is some centralized place where all the codes, all the scripts will be there in that particular location for a particular place. We have to push our code also. That's called as a repository. Okay, so now what will happen? As part of this agile methodology, 2 weeks developer has been developed the functionality. So the for the same functionality to validate, we have written an automation script. And that automation script also we have pushed it to the repository. Okay, so as part of this DevOps and CI/CD, okay, so this both are like interlinked. Okay, so this DevOps and CI/CD means continuous integration and continuous deployment. Okay, so we have to integrate continuously. Okay, like already we have some these cases in the location, shared location. Okay, that is called as a repository. So now we have to integrate our newly created code to that particular repository. That is called continuous integration. What is meant by continuous deployment? Okay, we have to deploy that pipeline continuously. Okay, so how we can do the deployment? Okay, so once developer push their code, okay, by that time we also should have pushed our code to our repository. Okay, so developer will be pushing their code to repository A and we will be pushing our code to the repository B. Now everything will be in the repository. Okay, so repository A and repository B. Okay, so for pushing, right, so they will be running some pipeline. Okay, pipeline means it is a Jenkins pipeline. So that is also another tool. Okay, I'll be explaining you later. Okay, so if we run that particular tool, then automatically the code developer which they have written, right? So that code will be pushed to that repository, right? So that will go to the environment. Okay, so for example, there's like multiple environment will be there in the testing last session I have explained. Okay, so in that for specific environment, there will be a separate pipeline. Okay, for QA01 one environment. So for that there will be separate pipeline. For QA, there's another environment called QA02. That is for that particular environment, there will be separate Jenkins pipeline. Okay. Now repository has been code has been pushed to the repository, but this code we have to push to the environment. Okay. So for that, there will be separate pipeline. That pipeline needs to be executed by the developer. Okay. So once that pipeline has been executed and it got completed, automatically our testing pipeline, right? So testing code we have pushed, right? So that particular repository, we have a separate Jenkins pipeline. Okay, so everything we should be created. Okay, so already that may be created. So just we have to execute it, or else as part of this DevOps, once the developers has pushed and they have started their pipeline and it got completed, so that means a code has been pushed to the repository. So repository means this environment, QA01 or 02, that particular environment. Okay, so for that environment, code has been pushed. So once that is completed, automatically our testing pipeline also will get executed. Okay, so once it got executed, what will happen? It will execute all the existing functionality, and also it will execute the new functionality, that is OTP functionality in our case. Okay, so OTP functionality just developer has been pushed to the repository, that means environment. Okay, so now testing pipeline is running, and then that particular automation script is validating the OTP functionality. Okay, now there's a no manual testing. Do you have any doubts? If any doubts, please let me know. Okay, so this tools I'm saying, right? So this Agile or else like this DevOps, CI/CD, Jenkins. Okay, we don't need to worry about that. Okay, so everything I'll be explaining to you later in detail. Okay, so for now, whatever I'm explaining, right? So just imagine. Okay, so how it will happen. Okay, so now, so once all this framework and this Agile methodology, DevOps, Jenkins, everything has been integrated. Okay, so this gives a lot of benefits to the organization. Okay, so what are the benefits? So it will provide the quick feedback to the developers. Okay, like if there's any issue or if there's like any small deviation also, it will quickly provide the result to the developers. Okay, so because what will happen once the developer push the code to the environment, automatically our testing pipeline will trigger and then it will validate the functionality. Okay, so by that way, within like 30 minutes or 1 hour, we will be providing the result to the developer whether it is working fine or not. So not only that particular functionality. Okay, so because of this functionality, okay, newly implemented functionality, if there's any break, okay, so anything got broken in that existing functionality which is already working in the production. Okay, because of this new change, there's a chances of breaking the existing functionality. So that also we can validate it within 1 hour and we can provide the feedback to the developers. Okay, so that is the main advantage for this. So what will happen? So what is the benefit of giving early feedback to the developer? Okay, for early feedback means okay, in the same sprint we can able to provide the feedback, and then the same sprint we can complete that functionality. We can developer can fix it and we can retest it. So everything will be done in the same sprint. Okay, so what are the defect which we are identifying in early and providing that defect to the developer? Its cost of fixing that defect is very less when comparing to late feedback or late defect identification. Okay, so that is a major benefit for this approach. Okay, so by nowadays, like we have almost all the companies are using this framework, Agile, DevOps, CI/CD, and there's this other tools also like Maven, Git. Okay, so all the companies are using all these tools. Okay, so now by using these tools, automation has become a necessary in the company. Okay, earlier it is like a luxury thing, but now it is a mandatory thing. Okay, so what is mean by like manual and automation, right? So that will be a next slide. So till now, any doubt, any small doubt also, like please let me know, guys, because we should be have a clear understanding on this. Any doubts so far?
No, sir.
Okay, so what's the difference between manual testing and automation testing? Okay, so with respect to future, what is how manual testing will perform and how automation testing will do the same thing. Okay, so first feature is who perform it. Okay, so who will be doing the testing? For manual testing, a human tester, they need to do the testing. Okay, like they will be opening the application and they will be entering username password and they will be navigating to the particular page. They will be validating the application. Okay, but for automation, we will be writing a script. So once we execute the script, that particular script will open the browser. Okay, so for example, we have written the script in Chrome. Okay, so Chrome browser will open and it's a Chrome browser automatically it will enter. So we everything we can see. Okay, so once we run the script, right? So Chrome browser will open. So that thing we can see in our laptop or desktop, and it will navigate to that particular application. That login screen will enter username password. It will click login button. So everything we can see it. Okay, so only thing is we have to script accordingly. So once we have done the script, that's a no manual intervention. Okay, so everything tool will take care. If you want, we can see in your desktop also. Okay. Second is speed. Manual testing is slower. Okay, compared to automation testing, because it's a human test needs to do it, right? But automation is a much faster. So 100 test case, if a tester needs to execute manually, it will take more than a week. But if the 100 test case has been automated, the automation script will take only 4 or 5 hours. So that too, while logging off, right? So the night of it, if we run the script and then we log off and we go home. Okay, tomorrow morning once we come back, we can see the result. Like how many hundred out of this 100 test cases, how many test cases successful, how much failure. So if it is a failure, what is the reason for the failure? What if there's any screenshot is there? So that screenshot also it will automatically take and it will store in our location. Okay. So we don't need to wait for that. We can just start the execution and we can go. So tomorrow morning we can see everything with a clear report. Consistency. So consistency may be vary with the tester. For example, in one test case there's a hundred. Uh, Sorry, one test case there is a test 10 steps. Okay. Sometime what will happen? So a tester may can skip any step, or else like out of 100 test cases, tester can skip some of the test case. Okay. So by assuming like, so this will some basic test case, it will definitely work. Okay, but what will happen is for the same test case or same scenario, there might be issue coming to the production also, right? So consistency wise can vary with the tester, but it is like inconsistent, the manual testing. But automation testing is a highly consistent, right? So if we create 10 steps, the automation, all the 10 scripts will get executed without any deviation. Okay, it is highly consistent. Manual testing is best suits for exploratory testing, ad hoc testing, UI reviews. So exploratory testing and ad hoc testing means it is like without any test case or without any document. We are just hitting the application and we are validating. Okay, so like based on our past experience on the like basic human knowledge, we are approaching the application and we are validating those application functionality. So that is called as an exploratory and ad hoc testing. Okay, and then UI reviews. UI reviews means, for example, in the UI there are like multiple panels will be there, right side panel, left side panel, okay, the top panel, bottom panel, so everything will be there. For example, one right side panel is getting extended, or if some text which is present in the right side panel is displaying the left side panel. Okay, so which we can't, it's like very hard to identify in automation, but with the manual testing, we can easily identify those UI reviews. Okay. So automation testing is best suits for regression testing, smoke testing, sanity testing. Okay, so these are the different testing types. Okay, so I'll be explaining you later. Okay, so for this testing, automation testing is widely used. Scalability, it's a limited scalability. Okay, because it's a human. But when it comes to this automation, it is highly scalable. Okay, for example, some of the test cases we have to run in multiple environments, right? There's a 100 test case. Means the 100 test case we have to execute in Chrome browser, we have to execute in IE, Internet Explorer, and Firefox. By using a human tester, it is like very difficult to execute same test case. It is like repeated work, right? It is very hard. It will take more time. But in the automation, if we run a script, if we create a script for 100 test cases, then the same test case will run in Chrome browser, Internet Explorer, Firefox, wherever we need, even in the Windows machine or Linux machine. Okay, everywhere we can execute. So that's what it is more scalable when comparing to manual testing. So error prone. So with respect to errors, right? So under a pressure or like there's highly chances of human errors in the manual testing. But automation testing, the errors are very less. Okay, so only thing is we have to script well. Okay, so in that case, there will be no much error in the automation testing. So till now, at least you guys are clear like what is manual testing and automation testing, right? So any doubts in this? Okay, so yeah, let me ask some basic question. Okay, so I'll point out the names so that just make sure like you guys are clear till now. Okay. Okay, so let me start with yeah, Shafika. So which testing is like more consistent, manual testing or automation testing? Okay, so why?
Testing it may vary with the also very high on which you can start.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so so Sanjay, like which approach is currently used in the industry? It is script based or framework driven?
Currently, we are using the framework.
Okay, okay. So next, Monisha.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so which is we can highly scalable, manual testing or automation testing? Why?
Can you repeat the question?
So with respect to scalability, okay, so which is more scalable, manual testing or automation testing?
Automation.
Okay, so why?
Consistency will be
You can see this. So like it is like very limited. Manual testing is very limited, but with respect to automation testing, right? Okay, so once we write the
uh,
scripts, we can run in the multiple environment, multiple machine, multiple operating system, multiple browsers. Okay, so we can scale that particular script to multiple environments with respect to automation testing. Find it. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so yeah, why did you join later? So maybe next slide I will ask you some questions. Okay. Yeah. So let me go to the next slide. So industry trends in automation testing. So as per Granter and NASCOM, okay, so this the Granter and NASCOM is a research and advisory company specialized in the IT industry. Okay, so as per their report or their research report, right? So they have said more than 85% of the companies are currently using test automation. Okay. So it is like very hard with a person having only manual testing knowledge entering into a company, the IT company as a tester. Okay, because almost all the companies are using a automation. Reason is I have explained earlier, right? So those are the reasons. Some companies are using manual testing, so that is like very, very limited. Okay, so those guys also very fast they'll be migrating to the automation. So there are like multiple tools are there in the industry, like selenium, rest assured appium. Okay, so but among so these tools are like used for different purposes. Okay, so like selenium is used for UI automation, rest assured is used for API automation, and appium is a tool that is used for mobile automation. Okay, but market leader is selenium. Okay, so reason is there are like many advantages for the selenium. Okay, so till now selenium is a market leader. Okay, so and one more thing, guys, for mobile there will be separate team. Okay, so they will be using Appium tool to automate the application. Okay, so for automating the REST, automating the API, right? Application programming interface. For that, there will be separate team, the industry, the company. Okay, but for same way for the UI automation, there will be a separate team. Okay, so but for all these, for example, if you want to go to UI automation, Selenium is the basic. Okay. For going to a API automation, so there's a separate tool called Rest Assured has been used. But for going to Rest Assured also, Selenium is mandatory. Okay, in the interview, they will ask a question in the Selenium. Okay, same way for mobile also. If you want to go mobile automation, there might be some question in the Selenium. Okay, even though there's a separate automation tool for mobile automation. Okay, so selenium is a very basic and a very high demand in the industry among all the tools. So roles, when coming to the roles, right? So there are like multiple roles like automation engineer, senior automation engineer, and then among these very high demand is the estate. So estate means software development engineer in test. Okay, so that is a very highly demanded. So reason for that is the manual tester. So basically automation tester is in high demand. Among that estate is a 2x of demand. Okay, so reason for that is manual testing or manual tester can do work in a week. The same work an automation tester can do it in a single day. Okay, they are giving that much productivity to the organization. Okay, so they are giving that much benefits to the organization. So that is the reason when comparing to manual testing, the automation testing or testers are in a high demand. Okay, so nowadays, so tester means like not only writing the scripts. Okay, so they used to write a script. Okay, and then they used to push that code to the repository, and then they will be creating a Jenkins, and then they will be running the Jenkins pipeline. Okay, so it's like combination of QA. QA means tester quality assurance. QA and DevOps. Okay, so combination of QA and DevOps is now modern QA. So QA means nothing but it's a quality assurance. Quality assurance is also a tester. Okay, so some company they'll be calling a QA team. Some company they'll be calling as a QE team. Okay, that means quality engineering team. Okay, so everything is a tester only. Okay, testing job. Okay. So by learning all these functions, all these tools and techniques, we will be having a 2x demands in the industry. Okay, because we are providing a 2 or 3x value to the organization. So that's the reason we are having a this much demand. Okay. So as I said, right? So we will be writing a code. We'll be integrating the testing the repository, and we are providing the faster feedback for the every build. So build means the functionality which developer has developed, right? So that particular functionality has been pushed to the repository. That particular repository is called as a build. Okay, so that build they will be giving the environment. Okay, so environment means nothing but a space. So when they see as an environment, let me show. So if I say open this IRCTC, right? So this is the URL for this IRCTC. Okay, so this is called as a production environment. Okay, so before coming to this production environment, developer will be creating this particular web page, right? So they will be creating their web page, and initially it will be their local machine. Local machine is the desktop which they are using. Okay, so with this desktop, they can do some testing or they can do some modification. Everything they can do it. Developer can do it in their machine, but as a tester we can't use that, right? Because this page is in their system, local system. Okay, so we have to access this application, then only we can test this application, right? So how we can access this application? Developer needs to push this code to the repository. Okay, and then they have to run the Jenkins pipeline. So once Jenkins pipeline is ran, okay, in the company there will be like multiple environments. Like here this is a production environment, right? So the URL will be different for QA. So there will be like QA01 hyphen irctc.in.net. Okay, so this is one environment, QA01 environment. So if URL is QA02, then it is a QA02 environment. So this environment is nothing but some repository, some space, centralized space where all the codes will get deployed by the developers. Okay, for example, if developer has deployed their code in QA01 environment, okay, and then if ran the pipeline and the pipeline is completed, then if we log in with this particular URL, then we can see all the changes which developer has done, right? So those things will be displayed in this URL, the web page. Then testers can test the application. Okay, this is called as an environment. Okay, so what is been deployed in the environment, that is called as a build. Okay, so what code has been deployed in the repository. Okay, but technically everyone will call this as a build. Okay, so this build has been deployed in the pipeline or not. Okay, so they will say, like, okay, we have deployed the build in the this QA01 environment. Okay, so that code is called as a build. Okay, for that build only, we have to provide the feedback. Okay, faster feedback for every build. Right? If there's any issue, immediately if we responded to the developers, okay, so this functionality is not working, so this login page is not working, or login page is working with this, if we provide like incorrect username password also it is working. So if we provide such feedback to the developers, then easily they will fix it and then they'll be creating a new build. Okay, so once new build is created, then again we have to run our automation script and we have to provide the feedback. Okay, so this time it is working fine. Like that, we have to provide the feedback. So why automation testing? Yeah, so this is like a faster test cycles. Okay, so the waterfall model, right? So waterfall model, so there are like various models has been used in the industry. Okay, so earlier it is waterfall model. Waterfall model means, so starting from development, once development is completely done, then only we will be getting the build for the testing. Like if it is like 6 month project, 4 months developers will be using and they will be creating the application. Okay, last 2 months they'll be giving that particular build to the tester. Okay, build means code. That code to the tester. So 2 months we have to do a testing. Okay, that's a manual testing. That is part of a waterfall model. That's a old model. Now we are in the agile methodology, agile model. So in this agile model, the test cycle is very fast. Every 2 weeks once we have to push the code to the production, or else maximum by month. Okay, so in that case, right, if this test cycle is like 2 months, then definitely we can't complete or we can't release the product to the business within 2 weeks or 1 month. Now, testing cycle should be very fast. How we can make it fast? By using automation. Reason for that is all the functionalities which has been already created is in the automation repository. We have already built an automation for that. Now, any new functionality is created, only that functionality we have to automate and then we have to push the code to the repository. Once that is done, then automatically developer push their code, then our pipeline will get executed. It will validate the older functionality and also the new functionality which recently developers has created. So that functionality only is going to the production. So that also we can validate and then we can give a feedback to the developers. Okay, so in some company, what will happen, right? It is like a very big company like Flipkart, Facebook. Okay, so there is no manual intervention itself. Okay, so what will happen? Next. So in like Facebook or Flipkart, so those companies, right? So what will happen? So there is a no manual intervention itself. So what developer will do? Okay, so developer will push the code. So so this is QA01 environment. Okay, so QA01 environment, and this is QA02 environment, and this is a production. Okay, so once developer push their code to this QA01, our automation will execute. Okay, so if automation is successful, okay, so if this is successful, then only that particular pipeline will be passed. Okay, so that pipeline will get executed successfully. So once this is successful, then automatically the development code will go to this environment. Okay, so this is like next level. Okay, so once this is successfully completed, this automation is successfully completed, this code will promote to this QA. Okay, so again here also the automation will get executed. Okay, so once this is completed, okay, so that's a no manual intervention. Automatically, it will go to the production. Okay, so this code which developer has been pushed, right? So this will go to the production. Okay, so this is like very minimum companies are using this. Okay, so where automation is like very more reliable. Okay, so if it is like more reliable, those companies are using this approach. Okay, but more than 90% of the companies are not using this approach, but their ultimate goal is this. Okay, so now what we are doing, right? Okay, so push the code to the repository. So in automation QA01, automation will get executed, but still we will be doing some manual testing. Okay, so if manual testing we will be doing, and we will be providing the sign off. Okay, like sign off means, okay, we have validated this functionalities in this QA01 environment, so everything is working fine. Okay, so in this we will be validating only changes related to uh, like recent changes. Okay, so we can say like OTP functionality they have created recently, right? So only those functionality we will be validating here. Okay, so only OTP functionality we will be validating in this QA01 environment, but automation will validate all the functionality. Okay, so for example, there is like some 10 modules. Okay, so out of 10 modules, this OTP functionality will be one module. Okay, so automation will validate all the 10 modules, but manually we will be validating this OTP functionality. So, and then if this OTP functionality is working fine, we'll be providing the sign up, and then manually we will be promoting the code to QA02. So automatically it will not go to QA02. Okay, manually we have to run the pipeline again, and then it will go to this QA02. So this QA02 again we will be doing this automation testing. Okay, so we'll start to execute this script. Okay, so and then manually also we'll be doing some functionality. Okay, so some of the functionality which we have not covered in the automation, right? So those functionality we will be doing manually also. Okay, so it will take like some 2 days or 3 days of time manual testing. Okay, but automation testing will complete in 3 or 4 hours. Okay, so but manual testing will be taking 2 or 3 days, and we'll be completing the missed functionality. So what are the functionality we have missed in the automation? So those things we will be doing it manually, and then again we will be providing the sign off. Okay, so once this QA sign off is provided, okay, so QA means quality assurance. So tester needs to provide the sign off. So once the sign off is provided, then only the developers will move the code to the production environment. So production environment means, so in this IRCTC, okay, so this is the production environment. Okay, so once, for example, this page has been created newly. Okay, once we provide the sign off here, give a 02, then only they'll be moving this to the production environment. So once it is moved to the production environment, if we try to navigate to this page, then we can see this page here. Okay, like book ticket page will be displayed here. Okay, so this is what like more nearly 90% of the companies are following. Okay, but 10% of the companies are following this approach. So but all these 90% of the companies are aiming to do this. Okay, so because we can do it only if the automation is more reliable, and the 100% automation is completed, then only we can go for this approach. Okay, so but still most of the companies are not following this approach. Maybe like in 3 4 years, so all the companies will try to adapt this particular approach. Okay, clear, right? Till now, any question? Okay, so this is a faster test cycle and better test coverage. Okay, so test coverage means, as I said earlier, right? So that is the environment specific. So as part of the scalability, we once the automation script has been created, we can cover or we can execute those test cases in the multiple machines or multiple browsers. Anywhere we can do it. Okay, and also it supports CI/CD and continuous feedback. CI/CD means continuous integration and continuous deployment. So Jenkins is the tool which is used for this continuous integration, continuous deployment. Okay, so by this Jenkins only code will get pushed to that particular environment, and continuous feedback. Okay, you can give this continuous feedback to the developers and minimize error, human error. Okay, so since like more than 80% of 90% of test cases has been automated, the human errors also will get reduced. Okay, and then testing fatigue. Okay, so fatigue means like a tester. So tester will get tired sometime. Okay, like 100 test case they have to run manually. Okay, that too like every month they have to do the same repeated work. So then testers will get tired, and also they will get some bored. Okay, so like how many times you have to execute the same test case again and again. Okay, so all these problems will get sorted out by using this automation testing. So challenges in the manual testing, I guess you already know. So manual testing is not scalable. It's like repeated work. Okay, so regression testing is very time consuming. So regression testing means, okay, that's a 10 module application. There will be a change in the one module, but the changes which they have done in the one module may impact other modules also. We don't know that. For that, we have to test all the 10 modules. Okay, so testing all the 10 modules just to make sure because of the new change, any existing changes are not impacted or existing functionalities are not impacted. So that testing is called as a regression testing. Okay, so regression testing, we have to cover all the 10 modules. So then it is a time consumption. Okay, so for this regression testing, mainly we have to work on the automation. Okay, so we have to automate the regression test cases. Main focus will be a regression test case. Okay, so which test cases we no need to automate? So what are the test cases like one time effort? Okay, so we will not like test this particular test case every month or like every release. We will not test means so that test case we no need to automate. Okay, so if we are executing the test cases repeatedly multiple times, only those test cases we have to automate. Okay, so one time just we are running this test case means we no need to automate that. And challenges is list limited discoverage under tight deadlines. Okay, so under tight deadlines, right? So sometimes this managers what they will do. Uh, for they have to execute some 10 test cases, they will execute only 5 or 6. Okay, so they will skip some test cases. Somebody can do it intentionally, or someone can miss without their knowledge also. Okay, but the tight deadlines, everything will happen. So these are the challenges with the manual testing. So this is it's not required for this. Okay, so what are the skills we have to learn? Okay, so we have to learn a programming language. Okay, so programming language means like either Java or Python we can learn. Okay, so so comparing to Java, Python is somewhat easy to understand, but problem with this Python is we have a less openings for Python. Okay, so reason for that is so let's give my team example. Okay, so in my particular my company there are my unit. Okay, we will call it as a TC, but for your understanding, let's keep it as a department. Okay, so in my department there are 22 teams out there. Okay, 22 separate teams. So for this 22 teams, everywhere they have created a framework in Java. Okay, no one has created a framework in the Python because Python is like newly evolved. Right? So Java is old one. Okay, all the frameworks, including development framework, testing framework, is like 5 years, 6 years old. Okay, they have already created the framework in Java. The Java framework, we can't write the code in Python. Okay, we can write only code in Java. Okay, so creating a new framework with Python will be like very time consuming and companies will not give a budget for that. Okay, so Java itself has all the features which is Python having. Okay, so why we want to create a new framework by using Python? Okay, creating Python will require budget. Okay, budget is a lot of it's a big concern, and then it's a time consuming. In this agile methodology, we have to focus on the testing part, and we have to complete the testing, and then we have to push the code to the production. So that will be our main focus. Okay, if that's our focus, if we go and ask like, okay, I need to create a framework with Python, so no one will accept it. So they will simply reject it. Okay, so go on to whatever you can do in the Java framework. Okay, so that is the reason Java has a multiple opening. Python has a very minimum opening. Okay. So and we have to learn like frameworks like TestNG or JUnit. Okay, so these are the frameworks which we will be integrating with the framework automation framework which we are creating. Okay, so this is also a framework, but this alone we can't use separately. Okay, so this is some library files. So these library files we have to import in our automation framework and then we have to use them. Okay, and then we have to understand Maven, what is Jenkins, Git, for automation pipeline. Okay, everything we have to understand. So everything I will be explaining you as part of this course. Okay. So from manual to selenium migration, reduce testing time from 3 days to 30 minutes. Yeah. So all the test cases which we have to execute manually, if it's taking like 3 days of time, within 30 minutes we can complete it via automation. So any doubt guys till now? If you're okay, then I quickly jump into the Java concepts. Okay, so let me move to Java. So before starting with Java, okay, I want to say I started my journey in 2012. Okay, so around by 2012, I started this journey. Okay, so I started as a manual tester for a couple of years, and then I've moved into the automation testing. So while this migration happens, okay, so before to this migration, my thought is okay, so Java is very difficult. Okay, so it's like very hard to understand. That was my opinion from my college days. That's why like haven't learned Java from in my college also. Okay, so even I started my IT journey. So at the time I joined as manual tester. So at the time also I haven't learned Java because basically it's a fear. Okay, fear of learning Java because people used to say Java is like a ocean. It is very difficult to understand. Okay, so that is like earlier my thought. Okay, but reality is once I started to learn Java, so it is like very easy. Okay, so very limited concept. So Java is the ocean. I agree. But for this automation testing, so we don't need to know all the concepts of the Java. Okay, so just a core Java is sufficient for our automation testing. Okay, so even in the interview perspective also, right? So they will not ask questions like for the developers. Okay, so for developers they'll be asking more in depth. But for automation testing, so Java is not required that much. First, we have to keep it in mind that Java is easy language, easy programming language, and within like maximum by 1 month we can learn Java. Okay, so we can. So only thing is we have to learn regularly, and the main thing is we have to practice the programs. By doing just two things, Java is a very easy and a very easy to crack any interview with Java for automation testing. Right. So that's the first step we have to keep it in our mind. Java is a easy programming language, and we can learn Java maximum by a month. Okay. So that's what I want to inform you guys before starting Java. Okay, because some of them will be in IT, some will be in non-IT. Okay, so whoever or wherever you from, okay, so Java is a very easy one. Anyone can crack this Java. So let me start. So what's Java? So Java is a programming language and it's a platform. Okay, so these are like very basic things. Okay, it's programming language. One more thing, without Java also we can write an automation. Okay, so by using a Selenium WebDriver, we can write a script and we can execute that script. It will work fine. But then why we want to use Java along with the Selenium? Okay, so if we write a script by using a Selenium alone, then the script size will be very big. Okay, so it will take like a thousands and thousands of lines. But if we use Java along with the Selenium, okay, so the 1,000 lines of code we can minimize into 100 lines of code. So that is the only reason we are using a Java along with the Selenium WebDriver. Okay. So what are the reason? Code optimization and code reusability. Okay. So we can optimize the code like 1,000 lines of code. We can make it as 100 lines. Okay. And then we can reuse the code. Okay. So like if we have written a functionality, OTP functionality once. Okay. So if the OTP functionality is present in the multiple screen, we no need to write the same code again and again. So just we can reuse the code which we have written earlier. Okay, so that is the main purpose of integrating Java with the Selenium, right? So first, Java is a programming language. Yeah, so Java is a programming language. So by using this programming language, we can automate any functionality. Okay, and it's a platform. So why it's called as a platform? So Java provides a complete platform to write and execute the programs. Okay, so it provide like a development kit and provide this runtime environment. Okay, so everything we can do via Java. Okay, so I think so. Can you guys confirm already you guys installed Java and Eclipse in your machine, or anyone is pending? Hello, completed, right? Okay, so you might have downloaded this JDK, right? So your Java development kit. So that is the one which we have downloaded from the internet. Okay, to our local. So if you open this Windows program files Java. Okay, yeah. So you can see this JDK. Okay, so that is a Java development kit. Okay, so in order to develop any program, we need this Java development kit. Okay, so but my case is different. Okay, so I no need to develop any Java. I just need to run the Java application. So then we no need of this Java development kit. So this JRE, Java Runtime Environment, is sufficient. This one, if you see here, right? This JRE. JRE means Java Runtime Environment. Okay, so this is the environment just to run the application. Okay, so Java provides development kit and also runtime environments. So that is why it is called as a platform. Okay, Java is a complete platform. And the Java is a high-level, robust, secure, and object-oriented. So this I'll explain you in detail later. Okay, so where this has been used? Okay, so this is used in desktop application, web application, interface application, mobile, embedded, robotics, games. Okay, so these things are like already you guys might be aware. Okay, desktop means the application which is running in our standalone desktop. Okay, it's like a standalone application. If we see here, okay, so this Zoom is a standalone application. Okay, so we can run it in our local. And then there's a Windows Media Player, because that is also a standalone application. So all these applications we can develop by using a Java. And web application is like IRCTC, Java T-Point. So those are the applications that also we can create via Java. And enterprise application is like a banking application. So web application and enterprise applications are similar. Okay, so both will be running in the web by using internet. Okay, but web application means it is some smaller applications. Okay, so but enterprise application is the application which has been used widely by multiple, like millions of customers will be using that application. So all the organization, right? So once we place the organization, we'll be testing an application. So those application are an enterprise application. Okay, so for this enterprise application, so we will be doing there are some security concerns will be there, performance issues may come. So everything we have to test. Okay, but web application is not the case. It's a smaller application. We no need to cover that much testing for this web application. But enterprise application, we have to thorough testing. And then mobile application. Embedded means like hardware plus software. Okay, so this is the embedded application. Robotics, games. So everywhere Java has been used. So these are some history. So we doesn't require this. Yeah. So features of Java. So first, Java is a very simple programming language. Okay. So why it is simple? It is a high-level programming language. It's like some English, plain English text. Okay. So anyone can easily read the syntax. Okay, and then they can understand the syntax. So that's why it says like a simple programming language. It's a high-level programming language, human readable programming language. And the second is an object-oriented. So guys, if you have any doubts, please let me know. Okay, in between you guys stop me and ask the question. So second one is an object-oriented programming language. So this is the main feature of Java. Okay, so object-oriented. Java itself is called as an object-oriented programming language. Okay, so under this OOPS concept, it's object-oriented programming language. Means it's a OOPS. Okay, short form is OOPS. With this OOPS concept, we have like a polymorphism, inheritance, abstraction. Okay, so object, class, everything will be there in the object-oriented concepts. Okay, so this is a major advantage of this Java. Okay, so by using this object-oriented, we can achieve two benefits. Okay, so those two are very important benefits. Okay, so for this benefits only we are using the Java in our automation, the Selenium also. So what are those two benefits? First is a code reusability. Okay, we can reuse the code, and second one is the code optimization. We can optimize the code. Okay, like 1,000 lines of code, we can make it into 100 lines. So that's what an optimization. And reusability means, for example, here this is a button. Okay, so with the Selenium and Java combined together, if we write a script, okay, to click this button, okay, so we have written a code to click this button, search button. Okay, so the same code we can use to click any button, like this button. If you want to click, same code. So this code which we have created for this search, right? Same thing we can use for this also. Okay, we don't need to do anything different. Okay, so even for this click, register click or agent login, so any of the click, okay, if you want to click any of the buttons, okay, we can use the same code. Okay, so only once we can write, and we can use multiple times. Okay, so that is called as a code reusable. And then it is a portable. Okay, so portable means like very easy and then very light to use. Okay. So its syntax is like not very difficult to understand, or it's not like a mission level language. Okay, so it is like very portable language, and it is platform independent. Okay, so platform independent means now in their time. Okay, so most of the team members will be using a Windows application. Okay, so Windows machine. So they will be writing their code in the Windows machine, and they will be pushing their code to the repository. Okay, in US hours, our US colleagues will create their automation script, and they will be running our automation script. Okay, so which we have created in the Windows. Okay. So now we are writing in the Windows, but in US hours, our teammates are running our particular script in the Linux machine. With C or C++, it will not support. Okay, so whatever script which we are running in this creating the window, we can run only in the Windows. Okay, we can't run it in the Linux machine. Okay, but Java, that is not the case. It's a platform independent. Okay, so if you write a code once, we can reuse or we can run anywhere. Okay, with any platform, with any browser, with any environment, anywhere we can use it. Okay, reason for that is it is a bytecode. Okay, so let me show you with a real-time example also. So this is the Selenium IDE, Selenium Integrated Development Environment. IDE means Integrated Development Environment. So let me open this. So why we are using this IDE, Selenium IDE? So earlier we used to write our automation. Sorry, not automation. We will be writing our Java code, right, with a notepad, and then we will be compiling this Java, right, in the command prompt like Java C file name, and then we'll be compiling. If there's any error, we will be getting that. If there's a compile time error, we will be getting in the command prompt. Okay, at the time of compile. And once it is successfully compiled, we'll be running the script. Okay, by using command like Java file name. Okay, so that is the earlier process. Now we don't need to write any script in a notepad, and then we don't need to compile everything in the command prompt. Okay, instead of that, we can use this Selenium ID. So whatever line which we are writing here, right? So automatically it will get compiled. Okay, so see, we can see right errors. So this is the compile time error. Earlier, we used to write in Notepad, and then we have to compile that script by command like Java C file name. Like that, we have to compile, and then only we will be come to know what is the error in the file. But in the Selenium integrated development environment, sorry, yeah, Eclipse IDE. Okay, so immediately if we write and we give enter, okay, so we will be getting the compile time error. Okay, syntax error. This is one of the main benefit of using this Eclipse, and also it will provide auto suggestion. Okay, like for example, system. See, we can get auto suggestion. Okay, so what are the methods which is present inside this particular class, right? So everything will get listed here. We no need to remember everything. Okay, sometimes the notepad, if we enter some of this one property. Okay, so if we enter this property, okay, with the p with the lower case, then also we have to compile it first, and then we will be getting this error. But here it is not the case. Immediately we'll be getting the error, and also we will not get, we will not use this, create this mistake. Reason is it is auto suggestion. We will be just clicking the button to select this particular method inside this class. Okay, that's the reason we are using this Eclipse ID, integrated development environment. Okay, fine. So now to this feature. Okay, so this is a Java class. So where this class is located, if we see here, okay, so this is the location of this project. Okay, so inside this source folder, main Java. See, source main Java. Go to source main Java test one. Inside this test one. Inside this test one. Okay, so again, this is a notepad. Okay, so in turn it is a notepad only. Okay, but we don't need to write here. So whatever values we are entered here, right? For example, I'm entering something. Okay, and then just open this notepad. See what are things which we are entering here, right? So it will come here. Okay, so this is the high level programming language. Okay, so high level script syntax, Java syntax. Okay, so but this syntax, let me give you some value. So it got same here as well. Okay, so because in turn this file is connected with this file, this location. Okay, so this is the high level programming language. Okay, but now we are talking about this platform independent, right? So Java will not execute this particular high level language directly. Okay, it has to compile. Okay, so it will compile this high level programming language into a bytecodes. Okay, that bytecodes has the ability to run in a multiple environments or multiple platforms. Okay, so where we can see this bytecodes, so same location here. Okay, we have this source, right? Source main Java. Okay, this is a Maven project. Let me create a Java project. So this is different project. New project. Let me create a Java project. Java project. Next. Name is Java basics. Finish. Okay. Java basics. So inside this source, that's a class. Let me create one class here. New class. Test one. So we have this class created. Okay, so these are Maven projects. Okay, so I have created a Java project just to show you guys bytecode. Okay, how this bytecode is will be looking. So go to this location, Eclipse workspace. Java basics has been created. See here, Java com basics test one. Okay, right click, edit with Notepad plus plus. Okay, so now I am writing a code to print something. Hello, just save this. We go here. Okay, it got printed here, right? So this is the class file. Okay, so this class file will have a high level programming syntax. Okay, so but once it got compiled, okay, so it is auto compiled, right? So with Eclipse will do a compilation automatically. We don't need to run any command for this compilation. Okay, so this will convert into a bytecodes. Okay, so that bytecodes have ability to run in a multiple platforms or multiple environments. Okay, so how this compilation will happen and where the bytecodes will be there, right? So go to Java basics. Now we have navigated to source, but in order to see the bytecodes, go to bin com basics test class. Okay, so the same file. Okay, that is Java file. Okay, if you go here, right, inside the source com basics test. Okay, so it is a Java source file, but inside bin we can see the class file. Okay, it's a class file. Now, whatever code we have written is compiled automatically by using Selenium IDE, and that high level syntax has been converted into a bytecode. Okay, so this bytecode is not a human readable code, but machine, all the platform environment, all the machines will easily understand this bytecodes. Go here, right click, edit with Notepad++. See, this is the bytecode. Okay, so this bytecode is not a human readable language, but machine will understand this bytecodes, right? So this bytecode only will execute further. Okay, so there is no more use of this particular file. Okay, so once it is compiled, then everything will be this file only. This bytecode only will get executed. Okay, so this is Java file and this is a class file. Okay, so after this is the one which we have written, and this is the one which has been created after compilation. Okay, so this bytecode will be running further. Okay, so this bytecode has the ability to run the Windows machine or Linux machine or any other machine or any other environment. Everywhere it will run. So this is why it is called as a platform independent, right? Fine. So next one is it's a secured. Okay, so security is very important. Okay, so at least for not for automation. Okay, but Java has been widely used in the development frameworks and also like multiple applications has been created by using Java, right? So in that case, security is the key thing. Okay, so if it is not secured, right? So automatically hackers will hack and everything will get lost. Okay, so security plays a major role. So why it is secured? So Java doesn't have explicit pointers. Okay, and then it will run inside the virtual machine box. Okay, so I'll explain you what is this explicit pointers. If we see here, consider this is a memory location. So consider this is a memory location where we have stored username and password. Okay, so username is ABC and password is 123. Okay, so we have stored the values here. Okay, so this is the secure detail. So if anyone is able to fetch this detail, then they can easily access our application by using this username and password. Earlier in C and C++, okay, so we have a pointers. Okay, so this is the name of this location which we have created, but in turn there will be a memory address like 0001. Okay, so for this it will be 0002. Okay, so this is the address of this memory location. Okay, so in C and C++, we have a concept called pointers. Okay, so pointers will point the memory location. Okay, so for example, if you pointer to this password, then it will be pointing here. Okay, now what will happen? The hackers or like non-authorized person can able to easily access this particular password by the help of this pointers. Okay, so this pointers will be pointing this memory location. Okay, so by getting this memory location, they can easily access the values which is present inside the memory location. Okay, now in Java we have removed this pointer concept itself. There's no pointer concept in Java. Okay, so then in that case, nothing will be pointing to this memory location, and hackers, it's like very difficult for them to access or get the memory location to access this password. Okay, that's the reason we have removed it. The Java, there's a no pointer concept itself. That's what it says. No explicit pointers. By removing this pointer, we are getting a security advantage in the Java. But in C and C++, that is not the case. We have a pointers, which is a security leak or like data breach also sometimes. Okay, this pointer is causing. Second one is it is running inside a virtual machine box. It is a very secured, okay, because it is running inside the virtual machine box. So what is this virtual machine box? Inside this operating system, okay, so consider this is a operating system. Okay, so C and C++, what will happen? This C and C++. Okay, so inside this operating system, directly we have this. Okay, so in C and C++, directly inside this operating system, we have this virtual machine box. Okay, so or else we can say it's an executable file. Okay, so directly all the files or all the coding, everything will be running inside this executable file, which is present directly inside this operating system. Okay, if any of the hackers have hacked this operating system, okay, directly they can access this file as well, and they can get the secure details. Okay, this is the case with the C and C++. But with this Java, okay, inside this operating system, we have JDK. Inside JDK, we have a JRE. Inside JRE, we have a virtual machine. Okay, so virtual machine means it's an abstract machine, so we can't see. Okay, so JVM. Okay, so we can see till JRE we can see, but JVM we can't see. Okay, so all the files has been running inside this JVM. Okay, so operating system, all the machines will be having operating system. Inside operating system, we have this JDK. Okay, so inside JDK, we have this JRE. Okay, JDK means Java Development Kit. Inside Java Development Kit, we have a Java runtime environment. Okay, so inside this only we have this JVM. Okay, that's a Java virtual machine. It's a virtual machine, so we can't see that virtual machine. Okay, so it will be present here. So all the files which we are creating, right? So it will convert into a bytecodes. All the bytecodes will get executed inside this Java virtual machine. So that's why it is very secure. Okay. So if hacker needs to try to hack this files, okay, they have to come across operating system and then JDK, JRE, say then they have to reach out to JVM. So even though if they reach out to the JVM, okay, so it will be in a bytecodes. Okay, so bytecodes is not a human readable language. So that is the reason Java is a highly secure programming language. Any doubt, guys, till now? Okay. So next is a robust programming language. Robust means strong programming language. Okay, so why we are saying it is a robust? So reason for that is it has an automatic garbage collection and exception handling. Okay, so what is meant by garbage collection? So I will explain you all these things detailed later days. So just try to understand or assume like what is happening. Okay. So because this explicit pointer virtual mission box is okay, but garbage collection is something related to coding and exception handling is also something related to coding. Okay. So to understand this fully, we have to learn or start with the Java. Okay. So for now, just try to understand this concept alone. Okay. So no need to go in depth. Okay. In as I said, Java is an object-oriented programming language. Here, everything is an object. Okay, so for each and every class, we can create a multiple objects. Like for this test one class, we can create an object. So object creation means this is the object creation. So this is the object creation. Okay, so for this test one class, we can create a multiple objects. T2, three, T3. Okay, so these are the three objects I have created. Okay, so all these objects require a memory space. Okay, so here I will explain you like what is this test one, this T1, so everything later. Okay, so but for now, imagine if we create an object that required some memory space. Okay, so in the memory, it will create some space. We have created this object, multiple objects. Okay, but memory has been allocated for this objects, but we haven't used this object. Okay, so we haven't used it. Okay, we can see here like yellow highlighted, yellow. So this means if it is a yellow, that means we haven't used this object. Okay, it is not used. You can see right, the value of the local variable t1 is not used. You can see this pop up. So if it is not used, but memory has been allocated. Okay, it is not used, but memory has been allocated. So that is a waste of memory, right? Now, in order to how to remove that memory space, we have a garbage collection, automatic garbage collection. Okay, so if we try to run this file, I'm running this file here. Okay, so at the runtime the memory will get allocated, but at the same time what will happen, so it will internally call the garbage collection. Okay, so those things until we can't see. Okay, but in turn what will happen, right? So we have this automatic garbage collection. Okay, so this automatic garbage collection, it will get called in turn, it will remove the space. Okay, so it will remove the space of the objects which has been not used. If you use, it will not do anything. If it is not used, then automatically the memory allocation will get deallocated. So that means memory will not get wasted. If we are using more memory, then execution time will get increased. Okay, so in order to avoid these problems, we are having this automatic garbage collection. That automatic garbage collection will look all the objects which is present inside the class. If any of the object is being created but it is not used, then the memory which has been allocated at the time of object creation will get deallocated. Okay, so that is the use of this garbage collection. So any doubts, guys? Do we need to explain again? Monisha, are you clear?
Sir,
Monisha, are you saying something? Okay, clear. Vaijayanti, are you clear?
yes, sir, clear, sir.
Vaijayanti, are you here? Yeah, are you clear? Do you have any doubts?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Shastika, Sanjay, guys, do you have any doubt till now?
No. Yes.
Okay, okay. So this is the use of this
No,
automatic
sir.
garbage collection. Okay. So next one is exception handling. Okay, so this is a very important concept in Java. Even for our automation also, this is very much helpful. Okay, so I will explain how it is. So in Java, sometimes we'll be getting some exception. What type of exception? Okay, so let's consider we are automating this particular web page. Okay, so once we log in, the top right side will be getting our name. Okay, so the person name who logged in, right? So that particular person name will be displaying in the top right side here. Okay, so our automation script is to validate or else like to get the size of the name. Okay, or else like to validate like what is the name has been printed here in the top right side once we have logged in. Okay, our test cases validate logged in username. Okay, so that is our first test case. Okay, we have around 100 test case. Among that, that is the first one. So second test case is validate length length of the username. Okay, okay. This is what like validating the username. Okay, so Prabhu is the username. So we have to validate whether Prabhu is displaying here, and we have to validate whether the size is 6. Okay, size of the string is 6. Okay, like this is the second test case. Like that, we have 100 test cases over here. Okay, which we have automated. Now, what is happening? There is some issue with this login. Okay, so login is working fine. Okay, but in the top right side, we are not getting any name. So if we try to find our name here, the top right side, we will be getting null. If we didn't do any proper exception handling, we will be getting a null point exception. Okay, once we get a null point exception or any exception, the first test case, okay, remaining 99 test cases will not get executed. Okay, so we have to do a proper exception handling here. Okay, even though first test case has been failed, right? So it should not break the other test case. We have to do a proper exception handling, okay, which will make only one test case as failed out of 100. So rest of the test cases should get executed successfully, right? So issue is with this login. Okay, so this login, we are not getting the name in the top right side. Apart from that, other functionalities may be working fine. Okay, whether it is working fine or not, we have to run all the other test cases. It should not like happen like a termination. Okay, so it's like a termination. Okay, so it will not execute all the remaining 99 test cases. So this kind of termination should not happen. So we have to fail the test case smoothly. Okay, smoothly in the sense only this particular test case should get failed. Okay, so we have to execute other test cases. So in the other test case, what it will do, it will try to get the length of the string. So here also it will get null because name itself is not there. Then how we can identify the string? Okay, so here also it will get a null pointer exception. So this test case also should get failed, but other test case should get executed. Okay, whether it is successful or not. Okay, we have to execute the other test cases because there's a chances like other test cases will get passed. So how we can execute or like fail this test cases smoothly, and we can continue the rest of the test cases execution by using an exception handling. Okay, I'll be explaining you later this exception handling concept. Okay, but this is a very important concept with respect to development and also for the testing also. Okay, so we have this automatic garbage collection and exception handling feature. So which is making a Java as a robust or strong language programming language. Okay, so I'll explaining this exception handling later in detail. So next is an architecture neutral, right? So it's like a bytecode. Okay, so architecture means Windows is on architecture, Linux is on architecture, and then even the Windows also that 32-bit machine or 64-bit machine. So each of them are a different architecture. Okay, so Java is an architecture neutral. Reason for that is it's a bytecode. Okay, I should write bytecode. So that is one reason, and there's another reason also. See, in my mission, we go here. Yeah, you can see this is 64-bit operating system. Okay, same way there is a 32-bit operating system also, right? So in C, what will happen? C or C++ programming language. Okay, there is a multiple data types. For example, there is a data type called integer. Okay, so data type is nothing but a space which is allocated to store any of the variables. Okay, so for integer variable in C and C++, if it is a 32-bit, it will allocate 4. Okay, so 32-bit and 64-bit machine. Okay, so these are two different architecture. Okay, so for C and C++, if it is a 32-bit, okay, so it will allocate 2 byte of memory. Okay, in case if it is 64-bit, it will allocate 4 byte. Okay, so byte. So this is a memory. Okay, 4 byte of memory is allocated if it's 64-bit. Okay, so this is not an architecture neutral. It is different from 32-bit architecture to 64-bit architecture. But in Java, for integer, whether it's like 32-bit or 64-bit or it's Windows or Linux machine, everywhere it will allocate 4 byte of memory. Okay, so like which there are multiple data types are there. Okay, so which will be saying later the same session. Okay, so but memory size is same across all the architecture. So that is called as an architecture neutral. For with respect to architecture, nothing will change. Okay, so everything will be same. And also byte codes. So since it's a byte code, it will run in the Windows machine and also in the Linux machine or any other environment also it will run. And next one is a high performance. So performance is very important. Okay, so with respect to automation, it is not that much important, but with respect to development, okay, so performance is very important. Okay, so even in order to test the application, there's a separate performance testing team also there. Okay, so Not only functionality we will be testing. So sometimes we'll be testing the performance of the application also. Okay, so there is some there should be like no waiting time or no loading time more than 30 seconds. So that also we have to validate. We means not like functional tester. So there is separate performance testing team. So those teams will validate that performance of a application. Okay, so how this performance has been increased in Java? So in Java, there's a compiler called just-in-time compiler. Okay, so what is the role of this just-in-time compiler? For example, there is a 1,000 lines of code. This 1,000 line, so we have a 10 lines of code which has been executed. Okay, so again after some lines, again the same 10 lines of code we are writing. Okay, or else like this 10 lines of coding we are just calling the method. Okay, so in that case, it will not execute again. Okay, so already this 10 lines of code or this method has been executed. The output of this 10 lines will be stored somewhere in the cache memory. Okay, so it will call directly the cache memory and it will get the result here. Okay, so then automatically the 10 lines of execution has been skipped, right? So we get what the output of this 10 lines, but the execution doesn't happen. So by this way, the repeated code will not execute it repeatedly. Instead of that, it will get the output from the cache and then it will place it in the output section. By this way, the performance will get increased. Okay, so no re-execution is required. So that is the main advantage of this just-in-time compiler, which will increase the performance of the entire application. Okay, JIT means just-in-time compiler. So these are the features of Java. So till now, any doubt, guys? Okay. Okay, so we can take one small break and we can connect by 1 o'clock again. Thanks, guys. We can drop now and the same link we can connect by 1 o'clock.
Okay, sir.
Let me share my screen, guys. So is my screen visible? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Am I audible properly?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah. So now let's jump into this variables and data types in Java. Okay, so let's start with the variables. Okay, what is variable? Let me open this Eclipse. Int number equal to 10, right? So what is a variable? So this is the variable. So variable is the name of the memory location, right? So now I have created integer number equal to 10. Now in the backend, memory has been, this is the memory. In this memory, a value 10 is be stored in this memory location. So this is the address of the memory 0001 and name of this memory is number. So that is a variable. This is called as a variable, right? So a variable is the name of the memory location. So for this memory location, this is the name. That is a variable. Here, the memory location value will get stored. Right? This one. Number equal to 10. So variable is the name of a memory location and it's a reserved area allocated in the memory. So reserved area means here if we allocated variable name as number and same name if we allocate here, right? So then it will not allow because already it's a reserved here. Okay. So already this is reserved here. If we give same variable name here, then it will give a compile time error. If we see here the Eclipse int number equal to 20. Okay. So it will not allow. If you see here, duplicate field test1 dot number, right? It's a duplicate. It will not allow because it's a reserved area, the memory location. Now we have to give a different name, then it will allow, right? So this is the variable. Now in the variable, we have three types. First one is a local variable, second one is an instance variable, third one is a static variable, right? So what is a local variable? A variable which is created inside the method is called as a local variable, right? So this is a main method. So main method will starts from here and it will ends here. Okay. So if we create any variable inside this method, it is a local variable. Int value equal to 10. Okay, so this is called as a local variable. So access for this particular variable is only within this particular method. Okay, so basically it's a scope. Okay, scope for this particular variable is only within this particular method. Okay, so outside of method, if we try to call this variable, then it is not accessible. Okay, so basically it will not be shown outside of this method, right? So that's the scope. So this is the scope. So this particular int variable, this is called as a declaring a variable. Okay, so this is called as a declaration. And if we assign some variable, that is called initialization. Okay, the initialization means initially we are assigning some values to the variable. So that this is called initialization. So here int value is called the declaration. Okay, so variable declaration and this is the variable initialization, right? So first is a local variable. Local variable is a variable which is created inside the method is called as a local variable. So accessibility is only within this particular method. Okay, if we try to access this variable in some other method like so public void add. So this is another method. So if we try to access this variable here, okay, so this is a local variable which is created inside a main method. Now we are trying to access this variable inside another method. So this is out of scope. It will say create local variable, right? Because this add method is not aware of this particular variable which is created inside a main method. So this is a local variable. Second one is a instance variable. Instance variable is a variable which is created inside the class but outside of the method. Okay. So this is the instance variable. So this variable has been created inside the class. So this is the class, right? So this, if we double click on this parenthesis, it will highlight. Okay, so this class starts here and it ends here. Okay, so variable which is created inside the class but outside of the method. So this is called as an instance class. So instance variable, right? So this variable scope will be changed. Okay, so based on the access modifier which we are giving here. Okay, there are like four access modifiers here. Okay, so I will be explaining you later. But this variable we can call inside this method or this method, or even if we create a new class, we can call this variables there as well. Okay, so we can access across the project. Right? That is called as a class variable or instance variable. So instance variable is also called as a class variable. Third is a static variable. Right? So static variable is also a variable which is created inside the class but outside of the method. But only changes it's a static event we have to give here. Right? So what is the use of this static? So for example, I will give you some example. So there's a class called student. Okay. So in this class student, we have three variables. One is student ID, another one is student name, and another one is college name. Okay. So this ID will be different from student to student. Okay. So consider there is a 100 student in the particular class or college. Okay. So this ID will be different for each student, and name is also will be different for each student. But college name will be same across for all the 100 students, right? So if we create id as a local this class variable or instance variable, okay, so 100 times memory will be allocated. Okay, like 1 2 3. Okay, so id will be different, right? So first student id is 1, second student id is 2, so that means 100 memory will be allocated in the location. So same for the name. Okay, so 100 memory will get allocated here for because there's a 100 different names. But here in the college name, there's no need of creating 100 memory locations, right? Because all the 100 students will have a common or same college name. So then there's no need of creating a 100 memory location, right? So now we don't need to create 100. So we have to create only one memory location. So how we can do it? By creating it as a static variable. Okay, like this. Int id, int string name. So these are the data types. Int and string, these are data types. I will be explaining you next. And third is also string college name. Okay, so always this integer, sorry, always this variable should start with a lower case. Okay, so if it is like two names like college name, so first it should be like lower case, and your second name should be start with an uppercase. Okay, so even though if we give caps also here, it will not throw any error, but it's some standard practice which we have to follow, right? So here 100 memory location will be created for ID, 100 memory location will be created for name. So for college also 100 memory location will be created. So 100 memory location is an unnecessary for this college name. So what we have to give here? So we have to just pass it as a static. Okay, so static case should be small. Okay, so static string college name. So now it will not create 100 memory. Okay, so rather than it will be creating only one memory location, right? So for memory consumption, this static has been used. Okay, so if we use a static, then memory will be created only once, so that memory will get saved. So that's the main use of this static. So where we can create a static variable? Okay, so can we create a static variable here? So we should not create a static variable here because the values which will be changing. So for that particular variables, we should not have a static variable. Okay, so we should create an instance or class variable here. Okay, so the values which is like static, that means fixed. So for that variable, we have to create a static variable, right? So if we create a static variable, memory consumption will be less. So this is the difference between a static variable and instance variable. Okay, so one more thing, if we want to call this static variable inside any class, sorry, any class or any method. Okay, so for example, if I want to call here inside this class, this add. Okay, so this name is a class variable. So I'm calling this class variable inside this method. Okay, so we can access, right? So name. If we try to call this, okay, within the same class, okay, directly we can name, call the variable here as a name. Okay, but I'm having one more class, test2. So in this test2, I want to call this instance variable, right? So this sort is just like printing. Okay, so printing the output in the console. Okay, so this is the console area. So this is the console area. So in this console, just to print the output. Okay, that is the use of the system.out.println. So I'm trying to call this variable, okay, as a name. So now this class doesn't have access for this variable. Okay, so how it will know whether we are calling the name which is present inside this class? Because we can create a same variable here in this class. Okay, so how it will differentiate? We are calling the variable which is present inside this test1. Okay, so for that we have to create an object. Okay, so why we are getting here error? Because this is static. Okay, so this is a static method. We are trying to call the non-static variable. So we are getting this error. So we can see this later. So for now, we are calling this variable inside this class. So then how we can call? By creating an object. So we have to create an object for this class. Test1 t1 equal to new test1 of. Okay, so this is the object creation, right? So this object has been created, but till now we haven't used it. Okay, so how to use that? So just copy t1 dot name. Okay, so by using this object reference variable, so we can call this variable, right? So if a variable, class variable, if you want to call from one class to another class, or else like from static to non-static, okay, we have to create an object. By using this object reference variable, we can call the variable, right? So that is the accessibility. So same. So now we have to call this static variable. So for calling a static variable, we no need to create an object. So directly by using a class name, we can call. Okay, so for example, college name. So let me try to run this first. So we are getting null because no value has been assigned. Okay, we can assign some value here. Okay, so test has been printed. Okay, so this is the instance variable. So now we want to call the static variable from one class to another class. So just we put, okay, so this is also not aware because this college name is the variable which has been created inside this test1. So test2 class is not aware of that. Okay, so to make it aware, just call by using a class name. Okay, so why we are directly we can call with this t1 also. Okay, so but why we are calling directly by using a class name? So reason for that is, okay, so if we create this object, again there will be memory will be allocated for this t1 object. Okay, but now if we want to call the static variable, we don't need to create an object. So if object is not created, then there's no need of memory usage. So directly we can call by using a class name. So if we call by like this, there is a no need of creating this memory. So if there's a no need of creating this memory object, Okay, then there's a no need of memory allocation for this object. Clear, right? Till now, any doubts? Okay. Any doubts, guys? Monisha, are you clear?
Yes, sir.
Vaijayanti, are you clear?
Oh, yes, sir.
சரண் கூப்பிடு சரண், ரெண்டு பேர்த்த வந்து கூட்டிட்டு போ சரண், எனக்கு டிஸ்டர்பன்ஸா இருக்கு. Sanjay, are you clear? Any doubts do you have?
No, sir. No, sir. Clear, sir.
Okay, Shatvika. Okay. Okay. So this is the variable. Right? So next is the data type. So data type represents the different values to be stored in the variable. Okay, so that means in the variable we can store multiple values. Like we can store integer value, we can store decimal value, we can store string value, we can store boolean value. Like multiple values we can store. Okay, so for multiple values we no need a same memory allocation. Okay, for example, if you want to store integer value. Okay, so for this a specific memory location is being sufficient, right? So but if you want to store some decimal values, for storing a decimal value we have to, right? So in order to store this decimal value, we need a separate memory location allocation. Okay, like for example, for this storing this integer value, less memory is sufficient. But for storing this integer, this decimal value, so more memory location is required. You want to saying anything? Hey, Vaijanti, are you saying something?
Okay.
So okay, same way there's another data type called decimal. Sorry, Boolean. Okay, so for storing this Boolean value, like Boolean means just true or false. Okay, so for storing this true or false, so one bit of data is required. Okay, so but for storing this integer value, like we need more space. Okay, for storing a decimal, there need a more space. Okay, so how we can determine the which space, how much space is required for the storing the value for the particular variable. So that allocation is determined by using this data type, right? So data type represent the different values to be stored in the variable. Okay, so different values can be stored in the variable. So for that values, how much memory location should be allocated? That will be determined by using a data type. Okay, so this data type has been, so for each and every variable we should give a data type. Okay, so without data types we can't create any variable like this. Okay, so this is not acceptable. So for sure we have to create, or for sure we have to have a data type before to the variable name. Okay, so data type and the variables are tightly coupled. So these data types are broadly classified into two types. First one is a primitive data type, and second one is a non-primitive data types. So what are primitive data types? So we have Boolean, character, byte, short, int, long, float, double. Okay, so these are the various primitive data types. Okay, so based on our requirement, we can use the data type. Okay, for example, we want to store only true or false, like flag. Okay, so true or false, we have to store means just we have to use a boolean data type. We want to store any character like A, B, C, any character, then we can go for this character, this char data type. Okay, so byte means same. We have to store some byte of data. Then we can go for byte. Short also like so. This byte and shorts are like mostly will not be used. Okay. So this integer, long, float, double. So these will be like mostly will be used in the automation. So integer means like complete value, like whole values. Okay, like 10, 20, 100. So will be stored. So long is also but integer whole value, but it's like a some big number. Okay, like in crows, if we want to store, then we have to go for this long. Okay, so int and long both is a whole number. Int is like a shorter form, long is a bigger form of whole number. Okay, but memory will be different for this integer and long. So that we will be seeing here in this table. Okay, so for floating number, that means decimal number, we have a two data types. One is float, another one is double, right? So float and double both are a decimal number. Okay, so for lesser precision, it will be float. For more precision, it will be double. Okay, so that means like for lesser number, we can use float, and for a bigger number, we can go for the double. Okay. So these are the default values and its memory size. So what is default value? For example, we have created this ID. Okay, so we have created this ID and we are calling this ID inside this class by creating an object. Okay, so we have just declared this variable ID, but we haven't initialized, we haven't assigned any number to this variable. Okay, so if we didn't assign and if we try to call this variable, we will be getting some values, right? So this is called as a default value, right? Same way for we have this boolean, right? So for boolean also we didn't give any value. So if we try to call this boolean here, we are getting false. Okay, so false is the default value for the boolean data type, and 0 is the default value for the integer data type. So likewise, for all the primitive data types, we have a default values. Okay, so for boolean, false is the default value. For byte, 0. For character, this is the default value. Short is for everywhere like short, int, long, double it is 0, float it is 0.0f. So that is a default value for these data types. And also for memory, we have for boolean we have 8 bits. Okay, so 8 bit means 1 byte. So 1 byte equal to 8 bits. Okay, so we have 8 bits, that is 1 byte. For byte, we have 8 bits, that means again 1 byte. 1 byte of data, 1 byte of memory will get allocated. Okay, if we create a byte variable, by default in the backend, 1 byte of data, 1 byte of memory will get allocated. So for character, it is a 16 bits, that means 2 byte. Right, for short also 2 bytes of data. And for integer, 4 bytes. Right, so as I said earlier, right, for C and C++, if it is a 32-bit architecture operating system, it will be having only 2 bytes of data. 2 bytes of memory. If it is a 64-bit operating system, it will be 4 bytes of memory. But in Java, it's architecture neutral. Everywhere, if we create an integer data type, by default, 4 bytes of memory will get allocated. Okay, so for integer, it is 64. That means 8 bytes. 8 bytes of data. For float also 4 byte, and for double, it is again 8 bytes of memory will get allocated. Right, so why we have to create this, why we want to use this data type, and why we want to allocate this memory. Okay, so for example, if there's a no default or else like no memory is allocated for this way data types, then if we create a boolean variable, So it is not required of this 8 bytes of data. Why I'm saying it as data? So it's a memory, sorry. So if it is a boolean, okay, so there's a no required of 8 bytes of memory. Okay, just 1 byte of memory is sufficient. Same way, if we create double variable, so for that, if we give 1 byte of memory, it will not work. We need, for a double, we need 8 bytes of memory. So for that purpose only, we have created like multiple data types, and we have allocated a specific memory location for those data types. Right? So these things are like backend. You don't need to do anything. In Eclipse, if we give some wrong values also, by default we'll be getting a compile time error. Based on that, we can adjust. Okay, so for example, for Boolean, if I give 10, so it will throw an error. Convert type flag into integer. So instead of Boolean, convert it to integer. So it will give a clear message. Based on that, we can change it. We don't need to remember these things. Okay, like how much memory is been allocated, whether it is correct or not. So if it is not correct, automatically Eclipse will show you the message. So clear with this data type, right? Primitive data type. So this is a primitive. So what about this non-primitive data types? So non-primitive is being created by using a primitive data type. So primitive is like a whole data types. Okay, so it's a base. Okay, it's a base data type. By using this primitive data type, base data type, a non-primitive data types has been created. So non-primitive example is string array. So these are a non-primitive data types. So string is created by using the primitive data type called character, char, C-H-E-R, char. Right? Let me show. Static string is a college. Okay, so static string college. So here I'm giving some value as so IIT. Okay, so here this is called as a string. Group of character. Group of character is a string. So this I is a character. Again, this I is another character. T is another character. So this combination or this combination of this particular character is called as a string. So this string data type has been implemented with the base of character, CHR, char data type. That's a primitive data type. So without this char, the string will not be formed. Same way array. So array is also dependent of this primitive data type. So dependent on which data we are going to store in array. So this array type will get changed. Okay, we can create a character array, we can create a boolean array, we can create an integer array. So by using this primitive data type only, we can create an array. Without that, we can't create any array. Okay, so basically primitive is a base data type. By using this base data type, a non-primitive data type can be created. Right? So among these data types, mainly used one is Boolean, int, double, string, and array. So these are the widely used data types for our automation. Right? So Boolean means just true or false. Okay, and then integer means like whole numbers. If you want to store any decimal value, directly go for double. And then if you want to store any name, username, password, or any string values, then we can go for the string data type. And if you want to store a group of values, like 10 values we have to store. Okay, so then we have no need to create like a int I number one, number two. So like that, we no need to create a multiple 10 variables. Instead of that, we can create a one array. With this one array, we can store multiple values. Okay, so if you want to store like a group of values or a more values, then we can go for the array. Right? So hope you guys are clear with this. Any doubt, guys? Till now, I will try to find some exercise. Let me stop sharing my screen. Let me reshare. Okay, so based on this variables and data types, right? So I'll be giving some small exercise, right? So before that, I'll be explaining you how to create a project and how to create a package and class. So once Java has been installed and Eclipse has been installed, just open this Eclipse and go to File, New, Java project. So here you can give some project like Java variables table. Okay, so now project has been created. So inside that we have to create a class. So before creating a class, we have to create a package. So reason for that is in real time. So there will be hundreds and hundreds of classes will be there, right? So if you want to navigate to any class, it will be difficult if you didn't create a package. So package is like grouping a class. For example, if there is a 10 modules, okay, so 10 modules we have. So for 10 modules, for each modules we have a multiple test cases. Okay, for module one, we have a multiple test cases. Like each test cases or it's like each scenarios we are writing in a single class file. So then we will be having a multiple class files. Okay, so multiple class files will be there. Same for module 2. Okay, so for module 2, 2 also we'll be having a multiple class files, right? So if you directly create all these class files inside this particular project, then if you want to navigate to the class files which is belongs to module 2, then it's very difficult to identify. Instead of that, we can create a package inside the project. Okay, so package name is like module 1. Okay. So inside this module 1, we can keep all the class only related to this module 1. Same way, we can create another package called module 2, and we can keep all the class files belongs to module 2 inside that particular package. Okay, so that is the reason of creating the package. Like package is helpful to navigate to the particular class easily. Okay, so in this particular package, we can combine all the class files which is like related to each other. That's the reason of creating the package. Even without package also it will work. Okay. But industry standard is to create a package, right? So project name always it should start with the caps, and but the package name should always start with the lowercase. Okay. So again, right click on this project, new and package. Okay. So it should always start from lowercase. It should always start from this word called com. Okay, so com, it's an industry standard. Okay, so this is like, even though if you create without this also, it will work. Okay, but industrial standard is com, com means commercial. Okay, so dot, com dot day one dot data types. Okay, so or else like module one. Okay, so it should be like com dot day one dot module one. So why we are doing dot? So it is a folder. So com is a separate folder. Inside com, if we give dot means inside com, we will be creating another folder called day one. Okay. So inside day one, again we are giving a dot here, day one dot module one. So that means inside day one, again there will be another folder created called module one. Right? If we click finish, I will show you that file manager also. Right? And package has been created com dot day one dot module one. So if you go here, inside this Java basics, src com. Okay, you can see right com, inside com basics. Okay, so Java day one is the project. So inside Java day one, inside source, here we can create a, you can see the folder called com. Inside com, you can see the day one. Again, it is a folder. Inside this folder, we can see a module one folder. Okay, so now if we create a class file inside this particular Java file inside this module, so all the files should be located here. Okay, same way if we create a new package also, right? So again, in new inside com we can create like day two. So day two we can create some other module two also, right? So now we can create a class inside this package. Right click, new and class. Right. So class name we can keep it as like a, so class name should start with a capital. Right. So we can keep it as a variables. Right. So one more thing, while we creating this, we can create a multiple class inside the package. So right click, class. Okay. So here we can create data types. Right. So now we can select this checkbox here, public static void main. So if we select this checkbox and if we give finish, automatically this main method will get created. Okay, so what is the main method? Use of this main method. Okay, so all the code which is present inside this main method only will get executed. Okay, so reason for that is, as I said earlier, we have a Java virtual machine. So inside this Java virtual machine only, all the code will get executed. Okay, inside Java virtual machine, there is a virtual executor file which is aware only of this main method. Okay, so it will just call this main method. JVM will just call this main method and it will execute only code which is present inside this main method. Okay, for example, I will give you. Okay, so system.out.println is the method which is used to print the output in the console. Okay, so for that we don't need to type fully like system.out.println, just sysout, sysout, and control space. Auto suggestion will come. Select this. That's it. It will create. So hello. This is the main method, right? So now I'm creating another method, public void test. Okay, so inside this also I'm creating system.out.println. So this is the test method. Okay, now if I run this one, okay, there are like two systems. Okay, system.out.println two times, right? So ideally it should print twice, right? So this one also it should print and this also it should print. But ideally, what will happen, right? So it will print only this particular line. It will not print this line because JVM is not aware of this method. So only if we call this method inside this main method, then only JVM will be aware of this method and then it will get printed. Run this. So we can see only this output, this line. This is the main method because JVM is aware only of this main method. So if we want to get this line also printed, then we have to call this method inside this main method. So how to call that? Again by creating an object. So data type is a class name. Okay, so some variable, whatever name we can give, we can give. Okay, so equal to new data type. Okay, so this is the object creation. By using this object reference variable, so this is the object reference variable. So by using this object reference variable, we can call this method. Test. Okay, so now this method has been called here inside the main method. Now JVM will be aware of this method and then it will print this line as well. Right? This is the main method, this is the test method. So that is the reason use of this main method. Okay, we no need to write manually here at the time of class creation. If we enable the checkbox, automatically this line will get printed. We can write all the code inside this method. Clear, right? So I will be giving this exercise to you. Write the Java program that declares an initialize variable to store the following information about the student. Okay, so you can create a project. Inside the project, you can create some package. Under the package, just create a class. That class should have these variable with this particular data type. And then finally, for this initialize means we have to give some initial value to this variables. Like name, we can give some name, age. So all these for all these three variables, we have to give some variable. One, two, yeah, we have four, five variables, right? So for this five variables, we have to create a variable name by data type, variable name, and then we have to assign some value to this variables. And then finally, we have to print all these five variables in the console. Okay, so you can write some small program for this particular exercise, and you can send it to me. I will be sharing my email ID also with you guys. Okay, so once you're done, just share this file or a screenshot something to this email ID, and then just ping me in the WhatsApp, right? As I have shared this one. That's it. I will have a look and then I will be providing you the feedback. So till now, do you have any doubts? Anything I want to explain again? Because this is like very basics, guys. Like if you are clear with this, then only we can go forward. Okay, I will be taking this note. Okay, so just focus on this exercise, and also I'll be sharing this document with you. We'll see whether I can share this in the same chat. We have option to share it. So just ping me your mail ID. Okay, so I'll be sharing you this document with you in your mail as well, right? So in WhatsApp also I'll try to share, and also the mail also I'll be sharing. So please ping your mail ID to my WhatsApp number. So we'll meet you in the next class, guys. Thank you. If you have any doubts also, like while
Yes.
you're writing this program, right? So just ping me in the WhatsApp. I'll help you if you have any doubts. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, guys. Bye.